All right. All right, Kevin, we are live.
Do we have, is Dexter on the line or Annette?
No, Topeka's here now.
All right. We'll give them a couple more minutes, then we'll get started.
Okay.
You're on mute.
Oh, all right. So we're going to start the meetings, 6:34 p.m. Start with the roll call. Alderman Donahue's here, Alderman Bilotto,
Here.
Alderman Klinker,
Here.
Alderman Alexander, not here, and Alderman Johnson, not here. All right. Next, approval of the minutes. I sent those out this morning. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Bilotto moves.
All right,
Second.
Second?
Yep.
Second by Alderman. Got it. Thank you, Alderman. All right. We got to do a roll call vote. Alderman Donahue, aye. Alderman Bilotto.
Aye.
And Alderman Klinker.
Aye.
All right. Minutes have been approved. Citizen concerns. I received one citizen concern from Ms. Carol Green. Let me pull it up here really quick. Carol DePace Green, Blue Island has one law firm as the city attorney, a second law firm as legislative counsel. Blue Island Legislative Counsel, Montana Welch, remain advisory and should not continue to muddy the water by writing any Blue Island municipal ordinances or resolutions. Montana and Welch must stop overcharging Blue Island taxpayers as they have with the 2020 appropriation, legal retainer ordinance, hiring ordinance, review of Sergio Costa's bills and chicken ordinance. Yes, the chickens have indeed come home to roost. All those funds paid to Montana and Welch should absolutely have been going towards roadways and sidewalks and reflects a lack of serious commitment to, as well as respect to Blue Island taxpayers and our tax dollars. Blue Island Finance Committee should be profoundly and absolutely embarrassed. All right, thank you, Ms. Green. Next, we have new business. We have payroll for the week ending August 21st, 2020. It's in the amount of $346,571.89. Is there a motion to approve the payroll?
Bilotto motion.
Klinker will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Alderman Donahue, aye. Alderman Klinker.
Aye.
and Alderman Bilotto.
Aye.
All right, motion's declared carried. Thank you. Next, accounts payable for August the 26th, 2020. It's in the amount of $302,328.95. Is there a motion to approve?
Klinker.
Seconded Bilotto.
All right, any questions?
Yeah, I have one real quick, and I'm glad Eric's on the line. So I noticed on page 6, we're paying Lindahl Brothers for the Edison and Francisco Street repairs. That's completed, Eric?
Yes,
All done?
Yes, all
There's
is
no
done.
problems?
it is, the project is complete. The last thing we have to do is do our punch list inspection, but the invoice does not include the second round of paving, nor does it include the retainer. So this is a partial invoice.
Okay. So then the rest will be finished, and then we'll pay them the rest of it? Is that how it works?
It should all be finished now. The only last thing we have to do is make a final inspection, make sure us in the city are happy with all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, but the actual work is completed, Alderman.
Okay, great. The way it started out was not very good, so I just want to make sure that it's done before we agree to pay them. So thank you. That's all I have.
You're welcome.
Fred, any questions?
No, I just glanced through it right now and no, nothing jumps out at me.
All right, great. We had a motion and a second. Roll call vote, Alderman Donahue, aye. Alderman Bilotto,
Aye.
and Alderman Klinker.
All right.
All right, great. Moving along, we have a quote from M.E. Simpson Company, fire hydrant maintenance. The quote is $15,150. Superintendent Postal, did you want to explain what this is?
Okay, actually, I thought the quote was 14,000 something, 14,500 for this
Oh, I'm
year.
sorry. I was
think
looking at
next
the
year it goes
I
up
was
a
looking at
little
I was looking at the 21 part.
Yeah,
portion of it,
next
not
year
the
it goes up a little bit. They haven't had an increase for years, but every year this has been going on. It keeps us compliant, but they split the city into quadrants. So 25% of the fire hydrants get a maintenance. They make sure that they're operable, the fire hydrants, and then also the other 25% they do a pressure test and a flow test, and the city gets all the data for I know that the fire chief has used this data for his for the insurance and all that, the ISO. So this is something that's ongoing every year, and like I said, they do it in everything gets touched. In a 4-year period, we get all the numbers, but 50% of them get touched every year. So 25% get the testing on it, but the other 25% get maintenance of it.
All right, great. Are there any questions?
I'll make a motion, Bilotto.
All right, motion by Alderman Bilotto. Is there a second to approve?
Yep,
this
I'll
quote?
second it.
And second by Alderman Klinker. All right, roll call vote. Alderman Donahue, aye. Alderman Bilotto,
Aye.
and Alderman Klinker.
Aye.
And
All right,
Annette is here now.
Motion's declared carried.
Kevin, Annette's here now.
Oh, all right. Hey, welcome, Annette. Annette, we just did item C under new business, so we're on item D. It's a quote from Doty and Sons Concrete Products, Inc. This is for garbage cans along Western Avenue. The quote provided was for $19,880.40. I believe this went through Alderman Bilotto's Economic Development Committee or Community Development Committee last week. So Alderman Bilotto, if you maybe want to just give a brief explanation of what these are and how we're going to pay for them.
All right, so ongoing along with the planters we did several months ago, this is the same company. We had 3 different quotes. The committee picked this version, and it provides 32 new garbage cans along Western Avenue. And it's, again, just like the planters, it's just we're doing a little at a time, so we're not killing our budget. Even though the money's there, we want to be able to be purchasing stuff for quite some time and having money in there for our major street improvement project, hopefully coming around the bend. So this would replace the old ones that we have left on Western, and then put new ones on Old Western and also north of 127th Street. In fact, we might put most of these north of 127th Street with a few on Old Western and keep some of the old ones until the next phase comes in, possibly in the spring when we buy another 30 or so new garbage. And actually, I just got a complaint from one of our business owners about their bottoms rusting out on 2 in front of their business. So it comes at a good time. These have around metal out there right now have been around probably at least 15 years, if not more. They've well past their life expectancy. These new ones are solid concrete. They're guaranteed 30, 40 years. There's no maintenance required on them, except maybe if we want to power wash them every so many years or so, but there's no maintenance. Unlike the metal ones where we have to constantly sand them down and paint them every so many years. And then the good ones that are left, we're planning to refurbish the older ones and use them like at the Waterfall Park and other areas in town that are not in the business district. So we'll be increasing the amount of garbage cans around town. And these would be matching the color and look of the planters that we purchased in the spring. So it's a consistent look up and down Western Avenue.
All right, Alderman Bilotto, thank you. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve this quote from Doty and Sons Concrete Products, Inc.?
Klinker.
I'll second. Bilotto.
Motion by Alderman Klinker, second by Alderman Bilotto. Roll call vote, Alderman Donahue's an aye, Alderman Bilotto,
Aye.
Alderman Klinker,
Aye.
and Alderman Alexander.
Aye.
All right, 4 ayes, motion's declared carried. Item E, it's purchase estimate from Dero Fix-It Pump, Airkit Prime, 4 units. Again, this went through community development last week, so if Alderman Bilotto, if you just wanted to just explain what's going on with these.
Okay, so it was brought up by a couple of our business owners that Lamont and other towns along the Cal-Sag Trail and other towns that have bike trails have these bicycle maintenance stations. And some of the community members jumped on board and contacted me saying it'd be great to put up along or near the Cal-Sag Trail. I've seen a lot of traffic recently through my neighborhood as I abut to the Cal-Sag Trail of bikers coming through town. And what these basically are stations with basic tools for your bike, an air pump, a ratchet, and they're on cables. They're meant to be just used. There's no charge for them. And it's a convenience factor. And it's also kind of like a destination thing. So they'll stop in front of a few of our businesses knowing that, hey, I have a low tire, I need to tighten this or that. And they'll do that and then probably stop in for a beer or a sandwich or something else. So, and they're not a lot of money. I was originally going to buy only 2, but the committee decided let's get 4. We can put 3 on Old Western and 2 on Old Western near the trail and 1 near Vermont and Western and another one north of 127. So we're cutting the entire gamut of the business district. And obviously the 2 are going to be closer to the Cal-Sag Trail where we'll see the heavy amount of bikers. And they're roughly, I think, 1,300 a piece. So the committee is recommended purchasing 4. And I think once this committee approves it, Howard and Pam or Topeka will place the order for these. And I think the lead time for these are 4 to 6 weeks.
All right, great. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the purchase estimate from Dero Fix-It Pump, Airkit Primes?
I'll make a motion, Bilotto.
Is there a second?
Klinker.
Second by Alderman Klinker. All right. Roll call vote, Alderman Donahue, aye. Alderman Bilotto,
Aye.
Alderman Klinker,
Aye.
and Alderman Alexander.
Aye.
All right, great. Thank you. And thank you, Alderman, for the update on those 2 items. Next, item F, Advanced Life Support AOS upgrade. Chief Rita, I see you're on the line if you wanted to give us a presentation on this item, please.
Yes, thank you, Alderman. Good evening, everybody. Hopefully you guys had a chance to look at the documents that were included in the packet. I gave a brief overview. I did this presentation last week at Public Health and Safety. Again, just you guys know what's on the table as far as the upgrade from basic life support to advanced life support. I have a couple, and certainly this isn't the end all be all. I'm more or less looking for direction to go or what direction we would like to go in as a city. But my options and recommendations in that line there, again, is just to say that there's a couple things that we can do here. And again, by all means, this is not the end all be all. But the first and obviously the most costly to the city is going to be to hire an additional 4 firefighter paramedics per shift. That would at least initially get us to, well, not initially, but take care of the problem of us having to get people to school, to do all of the things that would entail our guys upgrading their skill set from a BLS to an ALS. So that would also give us the capabilities of staffing both ambulances with the ALS or as ALS, and it would also give us the ability to have fire suppression companies in both stations. That would be the most costly. The second one would be to initiate what is called the Silver Spanner program. That's where we would use other members of IAFF departments to supplement our staff. And this would be in conjunction with us sending our staff to school for paramedic. And I found more information out after last week's meeting. So that we can only do 12 to 18 months. So that would be, right now, we currently have 9 of our 27 firefighters are advanced life support or paramedic trained. That we're looking conceivably now that would be 3 a shift. So that would really only give us an opportunity to staff 1, possibly 2 ambulances with a 1-in-1 model, which our current system would allow for. It's not the most optimal because we're not putting 2 paramedics on the rig, but it would let us get at least started. To supplement that, as I said, we would have to hire on additional ones while our current people are going to school. Now, that being said, the caveat with this, and one of the problems that we have with this, is that the paramedic classes, due to COVID, have declined in frequency. So there's usually a class in the fall, there's usually a class in the winter, and then sometimes also one in the spring as well in the various hospital systems throughout our area. Ingalls is pushed theirs back until January, so the quickest that we could get our members into one would be January. The other problem with that, even though it's starting in January, is that we also have lower class sizes, or smaller class sizes. So that being said, they will set aside certain amount of seats for us. But again, it's typically what is typically a bigger class is now going to be shrunk. So we may not be able to get as many people as we need in there. And then there's a cost associated with that, which I did break down later on, or in one of the other ones, and that's labor costs. The paramedic to send a member to paramedic school is going to be roughly $5,500. I think comfortably what we need to be shooting for is to send 11 of our members, which would run the cost of $60,500 through the course of. I broke it down to 3 years, a 3-year period. We can certainly, again, depending on the class size, depending on where we send people, and depending on obviously the direction the city would like to go, we can alter that certainly. But that's a rough overview of what we're going to be looking at as far as cost goes. That, again, along with this plan here, the next round of entrance testing, we would require our anybody that is taking the test to be a paramedic to test, where we currently just require them to be an EMT. That would at least, as we start to lose people through attrition, catch ourselves up to getting everybody to the ALS level. That being said, we will probably be testing here shortly because we do have, or we are anticipating a couple of people possibly leaving for other jobs. So, that being said, that's where we're at with that. I've attached, as I said, the ALS equipment itself. This is just and that's the larger spreadsheet. It should be the first spreadsheet. That breaks down what it's going to cost to outfit all 3 ambulances with ALS equipment. And that runs between $158,000, as you see, to $198,000. Now, the 25%, fee or increase that we're looking at, that would be just to cover if they've increased prices since we've looked at this going forward. If there's other things that, as we get into it, that we say that we might need that we didn't figure on, I think this is pretty accurate based on what we've looked at. So there's a little bit of wiggle room there just to account for some of the costs that we might incur as we go forward with this. This, as I sent out an email, I think it was maybe 2-3 weeks ago, from what Cook County tells me, and in the conversations I've had with them, will be covered under that CARES Act money that was allocated for the city, which is roughly I think it's just under $700,000. So that would be covered under that. So that's again solely for the equipment alone, just to upgrade and outfit the ambulances with the items that are needed for ALS. The second spreadsheet that was in there was the breakdown for the labor costs. And again, this is, I'm sure, where the city's looking, because this is going to be probably a longer term thing. And some of this has to be negotiated, again, keeping in mind, obviously, the union's going to have a little bit of a say in how that plays out. But I broke down as far as the cost for paramedics, a stipend for our current medics, meaning that we're asking them to do something that initially was not obviously part of their job description. I think that's a fair amount based on what we have. As I said, we have 9 current members that are medics. And then the Silver Spanner program, I just gave a rough estimate on the hourly. Again, that's got to be negotiated. And that's based on the hours of 3 individuals for the cost of a year. So, and then the overtime, that's the unknown. That would be to cover costs for guys to go to school, hire back. If again, considering that we only have 9 spread out across 3 shifts, that's only 3 paramedics for each shift. That does not allow for time off. Obviously, their personal time, their Kelly days, and vacation days, sick time, stuff like that. So we would obviously, if one of them or 2 of them are off a day, we would have to hire back to make sure that we have ALS capabilities for our equipment. One of the things that we discussed that came out of public health and safety, a couple of the questions, it was asked if we could run an ALS and a BLS ambulance. The answer is yes. Certainly, they would like us to have 2 ALS ambulances if we could, but they're very excited. Our regional director is very excited that we're entertaining this move here. So they're going to be willing to work with us on most anything that we come up with, as long as it provides or they see us moving in the direction of full ALS. I think I mentioned earlier too is that we can run 1-on-1, and what that means is we can run 1 EMT and 1 paramedic on an ambulance, an ALS ambulance. Again, that allows us a little bit more flexibility, but that again, that's not forever. That they would like us to see they would like us to have 2 ALS medics on each ambulance at some point. So that was the cost of labor. And then the last spreadsheet that I provided for you guys, and we talked about this, I think it was maybe 2 years ago or so, about increasing our fees. This is just to give you guys just an illustration. Certainly, obviously, we're talking about the costs associated with what this program is going to mean to the city or cost the city. But there's also an increase in revenue potentially there. Obviously, we're going from a BLS transport to ALS transport. So we can look at our fee structure. This is broken down. This gives you from our current medical billing company. This is all the other towns that they also are affiliated with. So it gives you a breakdown of what the costs are. So it's kind of a snapshot of where we're at. That coupled with this GMT that we talked about last, I believe it was maybe two meetings ago for you guys, but the full city council obviously passed it. I think their last council meeting. That's also an increase in revenue there as well. So you're looking at a lot of the costs. I mean, making, I guess, lemonade out of lemons here with COVID and some of this stuff. The timing wise might not be the best, but as far as the financial impact, it looks like a lot of this stuff is going to be at least initially covered. So the big thing is going to be certainly going forward. And that's, I know the wild card and the variable here is because we don't know where we're at financially as far as it relates to COVID, but at least initially all the costs or a lot of the costs are covered by some of this CARES Act money and the increased revenue potentially that we could be looking at as far as upgrading from B to A. So with that, if you guys have any questions, which I'm sure there will be some, again, just looking for the direction you guys would like to go.
Thank you, Chief, for that, and thank you for the documents provided. They're actually very helpful and very well done. So thank you for that. Any questions for members of the committee?
I prefer obviously the one that we can do the soonest, which would be the one spread out. But I'd like to. That's my first concern. The faster we can do this, the better. Because the funding, we have to kind of worry about hitting it all at one time. But it needs to be done regardless, one way or the other. It needs to be done. So I read through your memo. I didn't see the financial sheets. I don't know if I can't find it or it's just the memo I got. But that's all my concern was if we can spread it out and do the second one, which we can kind of start immediately.
Yeah, what was the last question? You broke up at the end. Was there a question?
I said I prefer the one that's spread out because we can start that immediately. It's not a huge hit all at one time, which we don't have. I think it's the one that you talked about. So I can't find it right now because I'm trying to juggle between 2 different emails.
Okay, that would be to start with the one, and again, that second option with the silver spinner, we'll look at that. As I mentioned just a few moments ago, the difference in last week to this week is talking with them. I wasn't sure if they were going to allow us to run a B and an A, so this actually will benefit us with if we do get one ALS ambulance up, we can do that rather quickly and spread it out as what you're saying. So, and then we can build towards getting that second ambulance up potentially, right after the first of the year or thereabouts. The big thing is with this CARES Act money, we want to get it spent obviously before the end of the year because we have to. So they may extend it a little bit. They may actually do something, and there's discussion about them doing it in January again for next year, or extending it at least into January. But I think realistically, we should try and at least, if we're going to go this route, and this is what we're going to do, at least get the equipment going and started this year, and try and get that at least one ambulance up this year by the end of the year.
I agree with Alderman Bilotto and what Chief Rita was just saying there too. I think that's a very good idea. Any other questions or comments on direction we'd like to go regarding this from anyone else?
I got a quick question. Chief, you mentioned the silver spader is only good for 12 to 18 months. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I talked to Union President Duffy, and he's made a few inquiries, and it appears that we can only do it for 12 months to 18 months is really stretching it. They want, and it's like anything else, they want to see this, that they'll help. They certainly will help anybody, but they want to see people, or they want to see towns that can get themselves up and running sooner rather than later. Because what you see, and I mean, Alderman Klinker, I'm sure with your experiences that, at some point these guys will, I would say, now again, we have a wide range to hopefully pull from, but at some point I'm sure they're going to, it's going to wear out. And it's not going to be they have no vested interest other than making a little extra money. And I don't mean that disparagingly. I just mean that's the reality of it. So I think that's kind of where they'll help, but they don't want it to be a prolonged thing as far as.
No, I understand that. So I guess what I'm getting at is, and so you got 9 now that are currently medics.
Correct.
You're looking at possibly 4 in this class in January. That's what you said the other day. I'm not sure if that's going to change or not. So we're going to have to do the 1-on-1 thing for, I don't want to say quite a while, but quite a while in order to get to that 20 number, because it's going to take us a couple of years to get to that based on the classes that are available and, how many guys you can send at a time, right?
Correct.
Does that seem right? Okay.
Yeah, and what I had laid out, I think it was 4. It was over a 3-year period where we would get, I think it was 4, 4, and 3 to get us to our numbers.
Okay.
That would be 20. Now again, ideally we would like to get 27 or all 27, but I think realistically 20 will give us a solid number as far as I mentioned, as far as allocating for our time off and everything else. And then I think through attrition, that's where we'll build when we start testing and requiring them to be medics. I think that's where we'll catch up on the back end of that.
Sure.
And I think it should save a little cost there as well, but
no. And I'm, like I said the other day at the Public Health and Safety, I'm 100% behind this. I'm just kind of trying to figure things out,
Sure.
Is it safe to assume that most of those medics that you currently have are relatively new guys? Or middle of the road guys and down?
There's a couple. It's probably the guys with 8 and under are the guys that we're looking at.
Yeah. Okay.
And one of the things we did bring up at Public Health and Safety is the retention aspect of this, and Alderman Kazaris had asked what the plan is as far as who we're sending to school. I talked to President Duffy the other day about this a little bit. They have an idea of what they would like to do. My big concern is I don't want to train people to go take better jobs somewhere else. And what I mean by that is higher paying. Frankly, I think our job is the best around for a variety of reasons. But, that's what we've been seeing a lot of lately is that, these kids are coming in and they're getting better offers elsewhere and they're leaving. So we don't want to send them to school and see them leave. So we'd rather invest in the guys that have been here for some time. So there's going to be a fine line there as far as how we do that. I have a couple ideas. I've already bounced it off of them. So I think we have a pretty solid handle on how that'll look. But yeah, the big thing will be retention as we go forward with this.
Okay. Great. Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anything else?
that was it.
All right, and you're just giving us an update. We're not, we weren't voting on anything.
I mean, I guess that's the direction end of it is I don't know, financially, I know we're, everybody's up against it. So I'm just seeing where we want, I mean, if we're going to do this, this is where we're at, and I'll certainly keep you guys abreast, but these are the costs that are going to be associated with to get started. So
if I could speak from the public health and safety aspect, we had our meeting, I think it was last week, Dan, week before, whenever it was.
Yeah.
We put it on the agenda as a discussion item. We didn't vote on it. There was a consensus. All 7 members were there. No one spoke out against it or anything. So we had a couple of questions, and Chief was going to get some more information like he just provided. And I was going to put it, excuse me, on the agenda for a yes or no vote. But, it's obvious that we're all behind it, and whatever we need to do to get this moving. I think we need to get more information possibly from Topeka as far as finances go for this, and where we're going to actually come up with this. Because we, if we're taking money that we didn't allot for this fiscal year, we need to come up with something to work that out. So that's basically where we're at from public health and safety was, it's going to be a go, but because I put it on as a discussion, because the Chief is just presenting the information, that's where it sits there.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Alderman Klinker, with that, I did forget this too, because I did talk to Topeka that next day after the meeting and briefed her on it. So she's up to date with it. And we are going to sit down with the union, myself and her, and go through some of the numbers as well as you guys had asked. And I think some of this too, and I have to clarify it with Cook County, but I think some of this money that for their time and for some of this other stuff as it relates to personnel costs will be covered under this as well, because it was not part of the budget. So I believe some of this will be covered as well. But that's some of the stuff that we're going to be working on and talking about. Yeah,
that's kind of, Kevin, that's kind of what we were looking at was, more solid information. And I think that's what they're, we also talked about this. The medic class is starting after the first of the year. So this is already, mid-August. We do have to get the ball rolling if we're going to do this. So that's where we were as far as public health and safety. And once again, I'm 100% behind this. It should have happened a while ago. We tried this 30 years ago when I was on the fire department, and it just never went anywhere because we were told the hospital's in our backyard. We don't need it. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
I agree with Alderman Klinker. And if we have to put stuff in the budget, probably have to start doing it soon at the next meeting, because our budget year starts in January, and we got to get moving on this stuff. And I think it's got to be done. We just got to figure out the best way to do it, and the most efficient way to do it, where we can find the money and be able to do it is the bigger question.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at as far as what, I think Topeka should give us a little guidance on where we're at with things and how we can do this. You know what I mean? How we can make it work.
So maybe we'll just hold off and wait till like next Tuesday or next meeting to vote on something where we can get the financial aspect from Topeka, if that's okay. Is everyone good with that? Just holding off a week until we get just a little bit more information.
It works for me. It's only a week, so.
All right. So Chief, if you could work with Topeka on just pulling the financial stuff and the budget stuff, so we could have that all ready to go. All right. Okay. Thanks again. That was great. Item G, purchase of parking lots at Union High Street on Western Avenue. I didn't see anything in the packet on this, so I'm not sure what. Obviously, I get what it is, but if Topeka or whoever is behind this wanted to explain what it is more.
Yeah, hi committee. So I received a request from Mayor Vargas to actually add this item to the agenda. And I had a conversation with Attorney Horvath, and I was anticipating him coming to update the committee on the purchase of the lots, because I really didn't have much details on it. But he was going to come and talk to the committee about kind of what the status was, and that's kind of where I was at with that. So I really don't have much to say. It was more as like an updating for the committee on where we were with that.
I see Carrie's on the line. If you wanted to go ahead, Carrie.
Okay.
The only reason apparently this found its way onto the agenda for this evening was to follow up with respect to the situation concerning that parking lot. At this present time, we own part of it right in the center of the lot, and the remainder of the lot is owned by the entity that now owns Metro South, they have apparently leased at least what they own to Cook County for use by its facility that's in the old Masonic Temple building. And at one point I was in conversation with Alderman Bilotto, and it was suggested that we at least ask the owner of the hospital or the owner of the former hospital if they would be interested in transferring ownership of this parking lot for some type of consideration. We did do that, but we've not heard anything back. And I understand as well that there is an issue, an ongoing issue concerning maintenance of the lot and the care of the lot. And so we're trying to follow up, but I don't know if the city's actually interested in going forward with a purchase or would rather just see the hospital or the owners of the former hospital take care of this lot and work something through with the county for the continued maintenance. So I think that's really the only reason it found its way onto the agenda for tonight.
Alderman Donahue.
Yeah, go ahead, Alderman.
Community Development voted unanimously to negotiate purchase or deal with the parking lot, and I sent that the email to Attorney Horvath, and I think that's where we were at. But nothing ever came back to the committee, and I knew there was an issue that came up with the ownership of a parcel of it by the city. I was involved in it, me and the clerk. So, but it should still go back to the Committee of Community Development if there is an offer. Our committee wholeheartedly, all 7 members voted to see what they wanted. I met with the owner of the property, at least one of the representatives. I think it was Dan. Forgot his name right now, and said he wanted
McNulty.
McNulty, yeah, and that's what started all this. When we found out that they didn't own all of it, they wanted to sell the park at York and Western. He said he wanted to unload the parking lots, especially the park on York and Western. I believe he was already talking to a realtor that's in town. I know for a fact he was talking for a realtor in town because I talked to the realtor. So I wanted to head that off because we use it for a lot of community events and see where we get with that, and that's where we're at. So, Attorney, I think you need guidance. The committee voted to find out where they're at, so that's where we're at, and that was on. It's in the minutes.
We did follow up. We just have not received anything definitive back from Mr. McNulty. That's who Kelly Burke from our office discussed it with. It was included as a part of the discussion they had when the mayor and Kelly and McNulty and his lawyer all met. This is going back a few weeks back now. So I will follow up, and if he's interested, he said he was going to have the property, when he explained to Kelly, he was going to have the property appraised and would let us know. And that's where he left it, Alderman. So we'll follow up. And if we can get a price and maybe talk to them about showing some interest in the community and giving us a community discount, I don't know if that will happen or not, but we'll follow through with it. Okay.
And I know the maintenance of it is not so much the garbage. And I think I clarified that into an email.
Yeah.
No one has cut the grass or trimmed the bushes in several years. A volunteer group last summer did it. I know it was a previous owner. This summer, nothing's been done. So it's
we were contacted by the lawyers representing the government agency that is apparently using the facility at this point in time, the hospital facility. And they were going to communicate with their people and have that taken care of. So we'll follow up on that as well. I mean, I don't know the condition of the property. When you say to cut the grass, is this the park area?
No. This is the parking lot that we're talking about with the legal dispute with Cook County Health and the towing. Has maintained that parking lot. The hospital is being maintained. The park is being maintained. Other parking lots they own have been maintained. Not this one along Western Avenue. It's like they've let. It's a donut hole. No one's maintaining it.
And they may have in their lease may have transferred at least on paper, the requirement to maintain to Cook County. I don't have their lease, but we'll follow up with the owner and try to get that straightened out, because it's not as though we weren't communicated with. We were communicated with by, I believe it's FEMA, who is using the hospital facility at this point, or is responsible for it. And that will continue until April of next year. But I'll follow up and see if we can't get this squared away. That's the best I can tell you at this point.
All right, thank you.
All right. So Carrie, there's no action needed on this item, is there?
No action whatsoever, Alderman Donahue.
Great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you for the update. All right. Moving on. The next three are Eric Alvarez. First is FEMA grant funding. Eric, if you wanted to go ahead.
Sure.
Please.
Thank you, Alderman. Yep. So that's right. I got 3 grants to get the Finance Committee's opinion on. The first one is a FEMA grant using Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities funding. This is their 2020 call for projects. And I think this is one of the few suitable sources of funding, federal funding, or basically any sort of non-local sewer funding that would be available to attack a large-scale sewer project in the 5th Ward. So yeah, this is for FEMA infrastructure, so federal money. We put together a little bit of a memo saying, saying a little bit of details about the grant, and also saying that we were going to contact the MWRD. Since then, Mark Miller and I have met with the MWRD, and they are on board to support our application and also on board to help us with the local match. Not knowing the exact scope of their current project, we don't know how much it's going to cost, but assuming it's going to cost several $1 million at least to fix the problems up there, the local match for these FEMA grants is 25%. And so if the project was in the $10 million range, we'd be talking about a $2.5 million local match, which presumably would be outside of the city's budget for sewer repairs. But if MWRD hops on to help us with part of that local match, which they expressed interest in, because it's good for everybody. If it helps fix their problem, helps fix the city sewers, and so yeah, we had really good results from the MWRD, and we'd be looking for the Finance Committee's approval to move forward with an application, which would be expected to cost somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000, presumably out of the water sewer fund.
All right. Thank you, Eric. Are there any questions for members of the committee? Sounds like a good opportunity to pursue.
No, Alderman Donahue, I agree. This is something that's been an ongoing issue up there. And if we eventually do get it and it's down the road, because obviously it's early stages, looking at them until after February of 21, it's hopefully a permanent solution for that whole area, because every single fix we've tried throwing, it's not a permanent fix, it's only a Band-Aid. So I want to make sure anything we do in that area, and I'm sure the aldermen of the area are going to agree, it's not going to come back and say something was not done right. This has to be done completely right. It's got to be followed through. But this is definitely good thought. And $2.5 million for a $10 million project. And if MWRD kicks in some money, I'm sure we can find some money to fix this problem down the road. So I agree. I support it.
All right. Any other comments or questions? No, seeing none. Is there a motion to approve?
I'm so sorry, committee. I actually have one question. Eric, did you say that the application was $5,000?
Yes, Topeka, so with most of the federal grant applications, we usually estimate the grant application cost between $5,000 and $10,000. Basically, Topeka, it depends on the level of involvement from the city and the amount of work that the MWRD's already done. And for example, their cost estimates and scoping the work. I do have their preliminary design report, so I'm hoping that we could get any grant application done very economically by kind of using a lot of that information, but the grant application processes are typically very time consuming, and we would definitely look to minimize the cost. It's just my standard estimate for most federal grants.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions before we move on? No? All right. Is there a motion to to give Eric and Robinson Engineering the go-ahead to pursue this?
Make a motion,
Is there a second?
Bilotto.
Do a roll call vote. Alderman Donahue, aye. Alderman Bilotto.
Aye.
Alderman Klinker.
Aye.
And Alderman Alexander.
Aye.
All right, 4 ayes. Thank you. Item I, CDBG grant increase. Eric, floor is still yours.
Sure, thank you, Alderman. So this is, again, federal funding, but administered by Cook County, so the Community Development Block Grant that we got for Collins Street. The Municipal Services Committee had previously directed us to reach out to Cook County to ask if the grant could be extended, because typically with the CDBG monies, it's kind of build it or lose it. And they came back to us and said, how about instead of extending the grant, can we look at doing it on the same schedule, trying very hard to get it done this year if they were to increase the grant amount. So they indicated that they would increase the grant to cover the entire cost of the construction, which is something I've never seen in working with CDBG over the past, I think, 6 years now. So they looked at putting another $42,000 into the local match to cover the construction costs of the project, which is our preliminary cost estimate of $322,000 in grant funding. And then they wanted to know if the city could still pay for the field layout, construction observation, material testing, which we had estimated it at $26,000. So basically, they're looking to increase the grant if the city still wants to go ahead with it this year. Oh, and sorry, there was something I forgot. I've talked to Municipal Services Committee as well, and there was something I had forgotten. The project's 90% design. It's basically just needs to get final QA and then put through the bidding process. So there's approximately $4,400 in the budget, initial design budget, which obviously is now on hold, to finish those costs. I think we can definitely do it within that cost, but actually having the contract QA done and managing the bidding through contract awards expected to cost another $4,400.
Alderman Bilotto.
Okay.
Motion.
Go ahead, Alderman.
No, I'll make a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Klinker.
Are there any questions? Will we vote? Roll call. Alderman Donahue's an aye. Alderman Bilotto.
Aye.
Alderman Klinker.
Aye.
And Alderman Alexander.
Aye.
All right. 4 ayes. Motion's declared carried. Thank you, everyone. And then finally, item J, Illinois Transportation Enhancement Program, ITEP grant funding. Eric?
Yep. Okay. So it's alphabet soup tonight of federal programs. This one is Federal Highway Administration money. That gets administered by the state of Illinois. And basically, these are programs designed to support pedestrian and bicycling improvements. They cover up to $2 million of project costs. We've taken this to Community Development Committee twice to get some possible projects. First time we had a look at 5 projects in total, of which 2 of them have made the final cut, which are sidewalk and crosswalk improvements along Western Avenue between 119th and 127th, and road diet and traffic calming and bike lanes for Vincennes Road between 119th and 127th. Basically, because of the bicycle and pedestrian aspect of these projects, they're eligible for additional state funding to help cover the local match. And then because of the areas that we've chosen for the actual projects themselves, the large portion of whatever local match there is would likely be eligible for the business development district. Just a quick note on the scope of what we've been looking at is basically pedestrian improvements, so crosswalk improvements all along Western Avenue. So high visibility crosswalks, better signage, striping the crosswalks by all down Western Avenue, basically, and then restriping Vincennes Road to make it a 3-lane section with bike lanes instead of the 4-lane section to try and get people to slow down and make the road a little bit more suitable for the environment it's in. So yeah, this is again federal cost, federal grants. I think the grant opening, it just opened for projects right now, so we have a couple of months to work on this. And I believe our next steps with this, should it be approved today, would be to go back to the Municipal Services Committee for their thoughts on the project we selected.
Any questions?
Alderman Bilotto, I just want to make sure if we do go down that road, it says trees are eligible, and I know south of 127th we can't, but if we can put in as many trees as possible north of 127th in any of these construction things we do, at the same time do things very carefully where we're not doing double work whenever we do our final streetscaping project with which would encompass sidewalks and stuff. I just don't want to do double work, and Eric's assured me that this is he's chosen these things so that we wouldn't be doing double work when we officially do the streetscaping. And also if we ever get the two-way western south of 127th Street, that's it wouldn't affect that either. So I was just really hesitant on anything that's double work. We're doing something, putting something nice in, and 2 years later tearing it out.
Right.
Right, agreed, Alderman Bilotto, and hopefully Western two-way, kind of keeps rolling, because I think we're going to have to look carefully at making sure we don't do any improvements that would conflict with that, eventual conversion. I agree 100%.
So do I. Any other questions, comments? All right, is there a motion to approve this item and to send it back to Municipal Services for final determination?
I'll make a motion.
All right, Alderman Alexander, is there a second?
Bilotto.
Bilotto, all right. Roll call vote, Alderman Donahue, aye. Alderman Bilotto.
Aye.
Alderman Klinker.
Aye.
And Alderman Alexander.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Eric, for those 3 updates.
Sure, of course. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Alderman Donahue.
And then next week, is everyone available to meet maybe on Tuesday at 6 next week instead of Monday at 6?
Yeah, I'm available.
Brad, can you do that?
Yeah.
September 1. Alderman Klinker, can you do next Tuesday at 6 o'clock?
You're looking at the 1st instead of the 31st?
Yep.
Yeah, I should be able to.
All right. So in Topeka, can you just note that as well? I'll send you an email or a text that when we
No problem.
So we'll do it Tuesday, September 1st at 6 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Bilotto.
Is there a second?
Klinker.
Alderman Alexander beat you to it. All right. Alderman Downey is an aye to adjourn. Alderman Bilotto.
Aye.
Alderman Klinker.
Aye.
And Alderman Alexander.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see everyone tomorrow at City Council. Have a good night.
Adios.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Yeah, bye-bye.